This is topic 8 of managing a web server, and this topic is about Htaccess. Now, so Htaccess, what actually is Htaccess? Well, you can think of it as being a kind of shortened version of HTTP access, or a way of managing access to an HTTP resource. So Htaccess is a configuration file for use on the Apache web server. And it's actually the proper name for it is a .htaccess file. So a .htaccess file gets placed in a directory which gets loaded by Apache. The htaccess file gets executed by the web server, and the htaccess file can be used to alter the configuration of the server. It allows you to enable and disable additional features, and these include some basic redirects and password protection. So one of the most common, or two of the most common uses for an htaccess file are when the client machine lands on the web server, the htaccess file can perform a redirect. And you may think, well, how often are we going to do that? The answer is probably an awful lot. For example, you might want to use htaccess to redirect all traffic to the HTTPS version of your website when they land on the HTTP version. Another thing we can do with htaccess as well is we can do a basic password protection box. That's what we're going to look at today. So why htaccess? So .htaccess is the full name of the file, okay, .htaccess. You don't create a file called file.htaccess. You create a file called .htaccess. The file will take effect when placed in any directory that's loaded by the web server. And it will also take effect over the directory and any subdirectories within that specified directory as well. And you might recognize this box popping up here, an authentication required box. It'll look different on different operating systems and different browsers, but this is done using htaccess. All right. Let me just clear those scribbles off the screen. Okay, so this is what an htaccess file looks like. You're probably desperate to see what it looks like. So this auth name, members area name. All right, if we scroll up, see what it says, authentication required up here. That would actually come up and say something like the message that's inside the htaccess file. So we have this members area name that would actually appear where it says authentication required at the top of this message box. Now, quite a common thing that people do is they cannot get this to work. So what they do is they copy someone else's htaccess file, but the htaccess file has a different name from what comes up in the message there, and it's easy for me to see that it's wrong. So just like in Apache virtual host, there are different keys and then values, okay? So we have the auth user file. Now this is a password to a special file called .htpasswd or htpassword, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. So let's just leave that at the back of our minds. Then we have an authentication type, a require statement, an error statement, and some handler statement. Don't worry too much about these ones here, all right? These are the ones that we care about. So, password protection. Password protection and authentication systems offered by Apache are the most important and probably the most common, other than redirecting, use of .htaccess. Very easily and very quickly, we can password protect a document, a page, multiple pages on a website using .htaccess. And we can also encrypt these passwords as well. So how do we actually go about doing this? How do we do this? Well, let's look at an example. To begin, decide which directory you would like to password protect. Okay, so all files and subdirectories within that directory, all child directories of that parent directory will be protected as well. Then create a .htaccess file following the main instructions and guidance, which includes the following text. So we need to have this text here. Then we need to create a password file. Okay, so how are we going to create a password file? The answer is we use this command, htpassword -c for create. Okay, so htpassword create a file called .htpassword here, and into that password put a username called Bob. Okay, the htpassword will then prompt you to enter a password for Bob. Then, when Bob sees this login, he can put Bob and his password into the authentication required box. Okay, if we look at the contents of the htpassword file, it looks like this. So there's Bob, and then there's a colon delimiter, and then there's the hashed password there. Okay, I added a user called Alice to this .htpassword file as well. Right, so then the next step, after we have an htaccess file and an htpassword file, is we need to then modify the virtual host file to add in a reference to our newly created htaccess file. Okay, so just like we did with the log, custom logs, just like we did with the SSL certificates, we need to tell Apache where this password file is. Okay, so what we do is we just add in this section to the virtual host, this directive, sometimes called a stanza, I think. We add in this code block, shall we say. So this code block, this is the message that will come up, and this is the location of the htpassword file, and require a valid user. It's just a require statement. Okay, so then to get this to work, we just need to run this command, which will just make allow override work. And then we just need to enable a module on the Apache server called mod rewrite. Okay, and then enable the configuration, allow override, and then reload Apache. And then when we go to that web page, it will jump up and ask us for a username and password. Okay, so that after we restart Apache and browse to the page, this should come up. So that might seem a little complicated just now. So that's why I'm going to just give you a little bit of a demonstration. So I'm just going to open up Lab 8 and show you the steps in this process. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new page called example.com. And because, okay, a lot of people say we've done this in Lab 2 and Lab 4 or something, but people have a tendency to get stuck on the intricacies of this. So I'm going to work through an example just now. So here I have a terminal with my server, all right? And I'm going to make this terminal roughly half the page. And hopefully I can make this roughly the other half of the page. Let me just tidy that up there, and let's just zoom back a wee bit. Okay, so let's create a new website called example.com. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, okay, is we're going to go to our www root directory. So let's cd to /var HTML. And let's just do ls and see what we've got in there. So at the moment, we have the default index page, which is loading here. And we have another website that I created last week called staff. Okay, so let's make a new directory. Okay, make dir, and we're going to call this directory example.com. Now we could call it example. I'm going to call it example.com to be faithful to the lab. Okay, so let's make this. Let's just run this now. So now if I type ls, I've got 3 files in here. And if I do ls-l, we'll see that example.com is a directory with the D flag at there, same as the staff. Okay, so now at the moment, example.com is going to be owned by root. So let's just change ownership of example.com to be owned by Michael. Now this will be different for you. This will probably be EC here. Okay. Okay. Let's just change the permissions of the files in the www root as well. Okay. And then let's change into example.com. So cd var www html example.com ls. Nothing in this directory. So I'm going to make a file called index.html. Okay. And in the lab, I've put some just basic boilerplate code here. So I should be able to get away with pasting this in without too much drama. There we go. So look, example.com, all kinds of examples for sale. An exemplary place, just a bit of a play on words there. So let me just save this. And let's see if we can now browse to example.com in our window. So let's do /example.com. Welcome to example.com. All kinds of examples for sale. Okay, an exemplary place. So one little change I'm going to make just to make this stand out is I'm going to actually change the color. So let's do body BG color. This is not HTML5 compliant, by the way. I just do this to be silly. I think that gives us quite a nice mint color. Let's do save and let's just see. There we go. Look at that. I don't like how it's messed up H1. Hang on. Some reason that messed up. Because I didn't close this tag off. Now let's see if that works. There we go. Okay. So here we have a website called example.com and it's loaded at the web root /example.com there. Okay, good. Great. So that's part 1 sorted out. Let's just minimize this. So let's create a virtual host directory for example.com. So let's say that I'd made this in a different directory and it wasn't working or anything. For the purposes of this lab, I will create the virtual host. So let's cd to /etc Apache 2 sites available. Okay, and see what we've got. So we've got our default and our default SSL. So since we're not doing SSL on this just now, let's just grab a copy of the default. So copy 000default.conf to example.com.conf. Okay, if we're going to follow that naming convention, which I like to do. So now we have a config file called example.com.conf, right? So let's edit example.com.conf, and we can see we've got all sorts of nonsense in here. So we can get rid of that so that we just have the things that we want. Okay, so let's get rid of, and remember, if you accidentally overwrite a line like this, you press U to undo. Okay, if you go too far. So let's just tidy this up now. And that just gets put there by Vim. Okay, so this is easier to understand. Okay, so I'm going to host example.com for the purposes of this video. Should I host it on a new port? Let's just keep it simple. I'll try and stay true. I'll try and not veer too far away from the lab. So back in, what is the document root of example.com? The document root, okay, so at the moment we were able to navigate to it by typing 127.0.0.1/example.com, but let's just put example.com because that is the path to example.com. Let's just save that. Okay, once we've done that, let's run the A2EN site. Now, if I type A2E and press tab, oh yeah, that's working. If that's not working, you need to do SU minus, okay? So A2EN site, example.com.conf, okay? Enabling, and then let's run systemctl reload Apache 2. So let's reload Apache 2. Great, no errors there. We can also do systemctl status Apache 2, and we can see that Apache 2 is up and running. Okay, so the next step on our journey here is we're going to create a file called htpassword. Okay, so let's run the command htpassword, create, and then put a path to .htpassword, and we're going to create a password for Bob. Let's just press return. What's the new password? We'll make it very simple. Let's just make the password Bob. Bob, retype password, Bob. Okay, Bob has a password and the password is Bob. Now, the next step, okay, is we're going to make a folder in example.com called secret. Now, if I do make dir -p, this makes the directory and all the parents directories along the way. So for example, if www, HTML, and example didn't exist, make dir -p would create them as it went. So there we go. Now let's create a file called the secret file.txt. Okay, touch var html example.com secret/secret_file.txt. Great. Now let's just reset permissions on everything in the web root, and let's create an Htaccess file inside our secret directory that we can put the configuration in. So we're going to create a file inside secret called .htaccess. Okay, we're in there with VI now, and inside it, we're going to tell it the following. Okay, so just if you do set paste and then press I, and then press I to go into insert, you go into insert paste mode and you can paste in here without too much hindrance. So what we're telling Apache is that the password file where we saved Bob is in here. Okay, and all of this will be the message that comes up. Please enter the password. This is a restricted area, right? So let me just save that. Okay, now the last thing we're going to have to do is go back to example.com.conf and give reference to the Htaccess file that we just created. So let's head back to etc Apache 2 sites available example.com. Now in here at the moment, this is just a standard Htaccess file. So we're going to add a new area under custom log, and this area is going to be a directory entry. So let me just do set paste, okay, and press I, and then Control Shift V should allow us to pop this in. Now I'm just going to tab this out to make it look a bit better. There we go. And then this is the path to the htpassword file and require valid user. And this is also the path to the secret directory. Right, let's save this. And then we're just going to enable a Apache mod called mod rewrite. There's mod rewrite enabled, and it's just telling me that I need to restart Apache 2. Okay, now apparently I didn't see someone in the chat saying I didn't close off the directory. I did. There it is there. Close directory. Like that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Apache server. Now, I'll say I'm probably about 35% certain that this is going to work, and 65% I'm going to have to go back and troubleshoot something. But so let me do Control F5 and just make sure example.com is still loaded. Still good. Let's just check that the default file's still there on index. Cool. So let's browse to example.com. Good, it's all there. Now, we want to browse to a new directory called secret. Let's see if we can get into secret file. So somehow that hasn't worked. And I'm not entirely sure what it is that I've done wrong. So it's saying I should restart. It says browse to the site in a new private window. Let's try it in a private window. So copy, let's do a new private window with Tor. Okay, and let's do /example/secret. Let's just do /example. Oh, this site can't be reached. Maybe doing it with Tor is too extreme. Let's just do a new private window. Okay. /example. Example.com. All right. Now let's try and go to secret. I bet you this is going to work. Okay, it's letting me into secret file. So somewhere along the road, something has gone wrong. And I need to try and figure out what it is. So let me go back to the earlier step in the lab. See if I can troubleshoot this. So let's go to cd to /var Apache 2 sites available. And let's have a look at example.com.conf. So we've got a document root of example.com. And the error log and Apache log all look fine. Okay, so etc Apache 2. That looks good. And then the final step is to reload. The site should be available. Interesting. Now it's telling me that I have to put a path to. Okay, let's just try this one more time. Let's go to. So we've got auth type basic, restricted content, user file is .ht password, require valid user directory. So that to me looks fine. Let's have a look at some of the other files I created. Let's have a look at the Htaccess file. So etc Apache 2 ht password is there. Please enter a password restricted at auth type basic, require valid user. Looks good. So the final file was the ht password file, which is apparently etc Apache 2 ht password. So let's run this again, and we're going to put Michael in there. Michael. So we cat /etc Apache 2, and then it would be HT password. Oh, now that's interesting. Why is Bob not in there? Okay, so the last step before we can make this work is let's disable the default site. So let's use Apache 2 dis site, okay, 000 default.conf, okay, and let's also disable default ssl.conf. Okay, they're already disabled. Let's systemctl restart Apache. And if we navigate to our example.com, which is now loading up as the main index file because we disabled all the other sites, if we do /secret and press return, it now prompts us for a username. So let's pop in Michael, password Michael, press enter, and here we go. It lets us through to the secret file.txt. So there we used Htaccess to block access to secret file, and we can now see the secret file, which is nothing in it anyway. So in part 4 of the lab, this is very, very much a practice practice session. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Moodle and we're going to download 3 websites. Okay, and these 3 websites are called. There's a zip file of them. There's one. I'll just look into it now and get it right, exactly right off the top of my head. So there's a digital marketing blog, there's a fashion photography blog, and there's a recruitment company. Okay, 3 websites. They look like this when you open them up, but each one has its own attributes. Okay, so if we go into fashion photography, there's an index page, and if I open this, I don't know exactly if it'll work because I have the whole thing zipped at the moment. Let me just extract these to my downloads folder and I'll show you what fashion photography looks like. Okay, so here is the fashion photography, and let's run the index. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, let's go, and there's some like fashion models here wearing various items of clothing. Okay, so that's one of the websites. There's another website called Digital Marketing, and we open the index page. So let's go marketing index, and it looks like this. Okay, here's some marketing website, and you can imagine they'd have all their marketing lies around about here, all about how great they are. And then there's a final website called fashion photography. Oh no, recruitment. There's a recruitment company. So we open up the recruitment, and there's some hotshot with a suit wanting to recruit you to work in their incredibly boring company. So the task for lab 4, part 4, is just to copy each of these over onto your server. Okay, so for example, let me get the server open. Insights available at the moment, I have example.com.conf. All right, so what I would hope you would do is let's just have a look in example.com.conf. What we really need is this stuff up here. Okay, what I would hope that you would do is I would hope that you would copy example.com.conf to fashion.com.conf. Okay, and then if we edit fashion, or if I put fashion.com.conf, so let's just, why did that happen? Copy to fashion.com.conf. Right, so vi fashion.com.conf. And in here, let's just get rid of the virtual host stuff, all right? So what I want you to do is I want you to make a directory called fashion.com in var HTML. So you'll need to go back up the lab and follow these the steps in part 1, okay? But instead of making the index file, I want you to copy the files from the Moodle into your fashion.com directory, okay? And once you've done one, I just want you to repeat it again and make, so that would be fashion.com, marketing.com, and recruitment.com. I wanted to make 3, and the purpose of doing this is just to practice making the virtual host files and configuring Apache.